Welcome to O Talkin' with Dave. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you're great. I am top shelf and ready to go. Happy New Year. All of the above. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've been threatening to do this for a while, but I'm going to do it today in this one. I'm going to go straight to my inbox, the emails that I tell you, reach out to me, let me know. You know, a lot of people have said, what do you mean by that? What kind of things do you want us to say or whatever? I'm going to go over, I don't know. I just pulled about 20, 25 of the last, just some of the last ones I've got, just to let you know, here's what people are doing. And then I respond. Yeah, that may mean nothing to you. That's okay too. You can listen or not to this one. I got to tell you, I appreciate the support. I am getting I guess people are talking because I'm getting so many more new listeners, new cities. We're almost to 400 cities now and almost 50 countries. So that's exciting. But I want to get into this because it covers a lot of the content. And a lot of it, some people are just now finding out and they're looking back at some old ones. Some of them are hitting the new ones. So it's exciting. So let's just jump in. What do you say? So the first email here, it came from Mark H. in Des Moines, Iowa. He hit me up. He said, life is conflict management. That's the name of the O-Talk. He said that hit him hard. He avoids conflict at all costs. And then he asked a question. Am I weak or am I just broken? That's a good question. And I don't know you, Mark, but I appreciate the email. And to me, it's not about being weak at all. I think we're trained to avoid conflict and all that. And in the O-Talk, I'm not telling you to jump into conflict. I'm just saying, hey, it's part of it. You can't get through it till you get in it, right? Somewhere along the way, I think you learned that conflict is danger. And a lot of people are that way. But the growth, that doesn't come from an absence of conflict. Not at all. It's learning how to stay in the room when conflict shows up instead of flight. No, man, you're not weak. And the thing is, conflict is not something you want to get good out of repetition. However, it is going to happen. And the quicker you learn to deal with it, the more power you'll have over your actions. So I appreciate it. Here's another one. Sophia R. from Barcelona, Spain. That's not a little town in lower Mississippi. I've never been to Spain. Never been there. I've heard great stuff about it. I had some friends that moved there for a few years, but I hear it's great. So Sophia's talking about, it's one of the later ones entitled Wait. And she said, it helped me stop forcing a relationship. That's important. I've seen both sides of that, male and female. Forcing the relationship. You're trying to make something happen when if you just wait, it'll happen naturally. But her question is, how do I know when waiting is really hiding? That almost sounds like Mark there with conflict management. So to me, the difference is waiting, as I said in the O-Talk, waiting has a purpose. If you're hiding, that's not the same thing. Waiting is a controlled response or a controlled no response. If you choose not to respond, you still have made a choice. However, hiding is more out of fear. Waiting is that, okay, what's forming? I'm waiting on a series of events, or I'm waiting for the time to be right. Whereas hiding is, this might hurt me. So I think there's the main difference is your intention for waiting. If you're running, if you're scared, that's different than waiting for the right moment. Great question. Then Calvin M. from Mobile, Alabama. Love Mobile, Alabama. We used to go many times, but we go every year for the tennis championships, league tennis. Loved it. So he's talking about the knock on wood. That was a fun one. He said, knock on wood made me realize how arrogant that won't happen to me sounds. That whole thing was, these are the things that you don't think are going to happen to me. In that one, I believe 11 or 12 out of the top 15 hit me in the last 3 years. But Calvin said, yeah, this won't happen to me. It sounds arrogant. And then he asked something that other people have asked. He said, how do you prepare without living scared? And in the O-Talk, I said, look, this is not being negative. This is not being negative. However, these things happen to somebody. It might be you. And so I think the preparation, you ask, how do you prepare without living scared? Preparation is humility. Understanding, yes, this could happen to me. And that's how you prepare for it. So that when it does, or if it happens to someone around you, all right, you've got a little bit of humility because for the grace of God, there go I. So preparation is humility. It's not fear. So it's not living scared, although it is scary. But it's preparing. It's being humble enough to know that, hey, this could happen to me. I am grateful that it hasn't up to this point. And you put some gratitude in there, and that adds some more humility. But it's not like you buckle a seatbelt because you expect to be in a crash. No, you buckle that seatbelt just in case. And you respect reality. And the reality is it could happen to you. So I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't, Calvin, from Mobile, Alabama. When I talk about Alabama, my accent comes back. Some say it never left. All right, Tracy L. in Boise, Idaho, talked about the space between. Okay, I don't know if Tracy, it's Tracy. I don't know if that's a male or female, but she said the space between wrecked me. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was pretty wrecked when I was coming up with just some of the principles around that space between. And the whole deal was, I talked about the space between Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year. And then we talked also about just maybe the space in between an old job and a new job, an old relationship and a new relationship, all of that. Didn't want to wreck you there, Tracy. But the thing is, they ask, how do you hold joy and grief at the same time? What a great question. The thing is, they're not opposites. Joy and grief, they're not opposites. They're kind of like roommates. Joy doesn't cancel out the grief. It just reminds you that, hey, my heart still works. It still works. Yeah, it may have been broken, but it still works. So joy and grief, they can be very close to each other. They can happen. You can be going through a horrible grieving time, and there's still some joy there. Not about the grief, because you've got other things, and vice versa. Hey, it's just reminding you, you still got a heart in there. Broken or not, grieving or not, it still works. So, great question, Tracy. And Andre K., get this, from Johannesburg, South Africa. I would love to hear you read this email because I'm sure your accent is much nicer than mine. And I love South African accents. They said that this is a few years ago, I don't know who they are, but it was said that the sexiest female accent was South Africa. Yeah, check it out. So, Andre said, freedom, control, and resolve. That's right now, that is a hot one. But he said, freedom, control, and resolve feels like my compass. Wow, thanks so much for that. Which one matters most when everything's messy? Andre's hit me right in the heart there. That freedom, control, and resolve is one of my favorites, and it's something we need to remind each other constantly. So Andre comes up with a good question. Which one matters most when everything's messy? It doesn't matter if it's messy or not. resolve is the most important. And I'll tell you why. Freedom gives you options. Freedom is precious. Freedom doesn't necessarily mean doing what you want whenever. Freedom means you have the choice. You decide. You decide. So freedom gives you that. Control gives you structure. Meaning, okay, I am going to say no. Under certain circumstances, I may say yes, but I control that. So it gives you structure. And freedom allows you to take control. The thing is, though, the reason resolve is most important, resolve keeps you standing firm when the other two are waning. Resolve pushes you forward to regain your freedom, to regain your control. Because if you don't have resolve, you're going to give up. It's not that important to you. And you're going to lose your freedom. And you're going to lose control. So resolve, far and away, the most important when things are messy or not. Great question, Andre. Have that resolve. It'll get you through so much. It'll get you through so much. So Megan T. from Portland, Oregon said the weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, made me cry. How do you know which weight is yours to carry? So the whole thing behind this is during some challenges, that's why it's W-E-I-G-H-T, I realized that I had carried certain weight long enough. Now it's just about setting it down. And throughout the O-Talk, we talked about that. It's like having a backpack full of bricks. And slowly but surely you put one down. And it's a little lighter. And you put more down. And the thing is, when you put them all down or most of them down or whatever, that gives you more freedom too to go back to the other one. However, a lot of times we just carry the weight because we always have. And so Megan said, how do you know which weight is yours to carry? That's fantastic. I like to look at it this way because I've just been through this in the last 6 months to a strong degree. But to me, if the weight you're carrying, if it's teaching you something, if it's making you stronger or it's clarifying something for you, that's yours. You carry that. Your responsibilities. Not just as a father, as a husband, as a friend. There's certain things that strengthen you. It's gratifying. It's clear, all of that stuff. So yeah, you keep that up. However, if it is a true burden it's crushing part of you. It's even sometimes, not all the time, but it's maybe it's making you feel ashamed or it's draining you. Hey, that's not yours to carry. It never was. So understand that. This everything from toxic people to habitually saying yes when somebody asks you to do something or asks for your time. And it really takes some time to unpack it, literally unpack it and decide what you're going to set down and what you're not. It's tough decisions many times, but that's a great question, Megan, and it is a very personal answer that no one can answer for you. No, nobody can answer that for you. So hope that helped. And I, just so everybody knows, I responded with these answers too. So I don't have to reply to all of these. I'm getting anywhere from 150 to 200 emails a day and I'm caught up. So glad to be, that's a burden to think about all those and they snowball on you. So Rick B in Akron, Ohio, he hit me up. He said, weeds changed how I see habits. Do weeds ever stop growing? No, they don't. That's why you have to control them. You're not going to completely get rid of them. Any farmer or anybody that's got a yard or a flower bed or whatever, those pesky things, some grow faster, but you got to stay on top of them. The thing is, weeds never stop growing. However, neither does your discipline, which is a good thing. The work is not going to end. It's just, Hey, the weeds just won't get higher or thicker when you stay consistent. And the whole thing behind weeds, it's a whole book. I put it into an O-Talk, 45-minute O-Talk. But also, staying consistent, the reason they'll keep growing is because you'll get new weeds. But also, the tagline is keeping your past out of your present. They're still going to come up. It could be a song. It could be a conversation, or just different things that will remind you of either people or situations or things you did or things you should have done. They will always come up. But you can keep them trimmed or hoed. Hoe them weeds. Weed those hoes. Sorry, a little tired. But that's good. Discipline. Keep that discipline up and you'll keep the weeds to a minimum. All right, we got a Canadian, Emily J. from Toronto. She says, this is one I just did not too long ago. Love is infinite. Helped me to love better. But how do you love fully without being used? Oh, Emily needs a hug. I wish I could hug you because that is a tough one. And I know people who they refuse. They bottle up their emotions and swear, I'm never going to love again. Love's pretty strong. If you're meant to love again, you're going to love again. But love is not, how do you know when it's how to love fully without being used? Love is not a weakness. No. If you don't have boundaries, okay, that's a weakness. And that goes back to the resolve we talked about earlier. All these are connected. Have you found that out yet? But love isn't a weakness. The lack of boundaries is. So you can love deeply and still lock that door. Lock the gate. Don't throw away the key. But that's it. The thing is, you have to understand what's important to you. Your vulnerabilities, maybe your tendencies. And also, you got to be resilient enough to stand up to people who are impacting your boundaries. Great question. I'll tag a hug onto that email. Paul D. from Dublin. Not a real good Irish accent, is it? From Dublin, Ireland. O'Connor talking to Paul D. I wonder what D stands. What's an Irish last name that starts with D? So he said, your talk on running made me realize I run from silence. How do you sit still? I know you're talking metaphorically, but the running, I like what you said there. You realize that you run from silence. Silence is tough. I have one on silence too, but it is tough. But I think you said, how do you sit still? You sit long enough and you're going to hear what you've been avoiding. Silence, it's not empty. It feels that way at first, but if you just give it a little bit longer, it's not empty, it's honest. And it's important. Silence is a critical part of my life now. When you're silent, all right, you don't have to run. It comes to you. The answers, the serenity, the clarity, the whatever. It's more apt to find you when you're silent. So I think that's it. I think that'll cover it. Janice W. from Scottsdale, Arizona. Love Scottsdale, Arizona. She said, the worry we cause others hit home with my kids. It hit home with her kids. How do you live freely without hurting people who love you? Oh, that's a great question. And I probably couldn't answer that a few years ago. But you don't live recklessly. But also, you don't live imprisoned to someone else's anxiety. Love, your love for your kids, your love for anybody, that considers the impact that you make. You know, it's not asking permission. I know I had a pretty crazy weekend this weekend, and I let my kids know, here's what I'm going to do. And then I said, don't worry though. Don't worry. I'll be safe. I'm not driving. I'm not doing anything. I'm just along for the ride, and it's going to be so much fun. So don't worry about me. So I let them know. Also, manage their expectations a little bit. So don't live recklessly, but also don't be imprisoned or burdened by what somebody else is going to think. Be considerate. You don't have to ask permission. That's it. And I think, because you said it hit home with your kids, I think the other way you may have been going too is, that's what we do as parents. I'm not even going to call it worry. I'll just say concern for their safety, concern for their well-being, all of that. And kids are going to be more reckless than adults. I hope. I think I'm more reckless than my kids, honestly, at this juncture. However, I think that's a good rule to live by. Don't be needlessly reckless. It's still fun to get out there and mix it up a bit. All right, Leo from San Diego, California. Love San Diego. One of the most beautiful places on earth. He talked about my members only talk. He said, members only made me uncomfortable. How do you leave a circle that you helped build? Wow. I think you do it quietly, respectfully, and without burning it to the ground, just to prove that you've changed. No arrogance, no grand goodbye with a pomp and circumstance and all that. You got to respect it if you help build it. Respect it because others are still members there. So it's important. I think you can do it well. And also, if you leave on good terms, that's going to help you build the next circle. And it may be very similar. So, great question. Great question. Okay, get this. Anita P. from Mumbai, India. If my mom knew that I was getting emails from Anita P. in Mumbai, India, I don't know if she'd be upset or impressed, but hey, I appreciate it. And she's gone way back. This is like the third or fourth one I ever did. She said, don't give away your power. Changed how I see family pressure. Huh. Tell me more. Then she said, how do you take power back respectively? Okay. All right. Here's my thing, and this is controversial, and some of my friends they still disagree with me, and they're wrong. You can't take power back. Can't do it. It has to be given back. So you create an atmosphere or a situation, and sometimes it's proving yourself or proving a point, and not in a harsh way. For example, when I used to discipline my kids, it made them mad. And so there was a break there. So I can't make them be happy again. I can't make them come around. What I can do is wait or let them see that you're mad at me, but I'm still your dad. And what they'll do is usually they come around when they were little. They climb up in my lap because they needed to know daddy still loved them, but also they had to come to me. I can't make them get over this quickly. I know a lot of parents who have done things to their kids or have not, omission or commission things to their kids. And they're still the parent, but they can't take that role back once they have acted non-parental. Yeah, I know someone who won't even call their daughter on her birthday or Merry Christmas, not even a text. All right, she's given up her role, and she can't demand to be treated like a mom again until that child gives her that back. So a long explanation of why you can't take power back. It has to be given back. Now, you can earn it, you can do all these things, but power has to be given back. Long explanation. Sorry about that. Probably didn't say it that well. However, that's it. So if you want to answer this email with a specific situation, I can maybe throw some stuff out. Miss Anita P. in Mumbai, India. All right, Tom G. in Lincoln, Nebraska says, momentum got me moving. Sweet. I love that. But then he asked, what do you do when motivation fades? Oh, dude. You keep going anyway. Motion has to be a constant. It's got to be a constant residence for you. Move, get going. Don't sit still. Keep going. Mentally, physically, whatever. Motivation drops by every now and then. Yeah, it's like a guest. It's important. And then discipline, the discipline to keep moving. That pays the rent if we're going to use the house analogy. Keep moving. Motivation comes by and visits sometimes, which is great. We're so glad to see motivation. But discipline and resolve, that makes your house payment right there. So hopefully that helps. I'm glad momentum got you moving. It's easier to steer when the car's moving. That's for sure. All right. Nashville, Tennessee. Rachel K. Rachel says, I rush every season. How do you slow down without falling behind? Okay. That's good. And I'm telling you, slowing down is not synonymous with falling behind. It's choosing to maybe dig in, quality over quantity, but you're not falling behind. And one thing I would advise, if we were talking, I would say, okay, you need to deselect some things. What are you falling behind? What are you worried about? Name where you're falling behind and how that makes you feel, and you may find that might be something you can set down. Yeah, but slowing down is not falling behind necessarily. To me, I always say with Southerners, we talk slow so y'all can keep up. So slowing down also means enjoying the ride, enjoying the creature comforts. Falling behind, you're increasing your depth of appreciation. So hope that helps. Rachel K. in Nashville, Tennessee. We probably know each other. Ben F. I thought this might be my buddy Ben, but this guy's in Perth, Australia. My buddy isn't in Perth, Australia. He's talking about controlled failure. He said, controlled failure changed how I parent. Wow. How do you let people fail without rescuing them? Oh, that's tough, especially people you love so much. I remember the old saying, you got to let your kids skin their knees. But watching them do it, I'd rather feel their pain so they don't have to. But the whole thing is, how do you let people he didn't even say people that you love, but that's what I think about. How do you let people fail without rescuing them? You got to stay close. I remember when your kids start walking, you're there to catch them in case they fall into something, but you got to let them fall. You don't step in necessarily. So support is not the same as saving them. I mean, they fall and skin their knees, you're right there with Band-Aids and some Bactine or whatever you spray on that stuff. But so you're there. You don't step in and save them. However, you're there to support them, and they know it. So that's what I would say. Linda M. in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the home of the green chili peppers. So Linda said, wisdom over wounded helped me stop hurting others. Wow, I'd love to hear more about that. And then she's just talking about how you heal without becoming cold. Interesting. I think wisdom has got to be your guide, not the bitterness. What did you learn? That's what we talked about in that. Some people are habitually hurt. They like to hold on to that hurt like Linus in his blanket. So what did you learn from it? What lesson did you learn from a hard time that you would not have learned otherwise? Focus on the lesson and not bitterness. It doesn't mean you're naive. It doesn't mean you're just all Pollyanna or ignoring it. No, hold on to that lesson, because that means, you're strong enough to remember that. Maybe you won't repeat some of the things the same way again, but it also makes you wise to be able to help people. And that's important. The more you help people, the more full your life will be. Carlos V. in Mexico City, Mexico. The circle made me think about my friendships. How small should the circle be? That's something you've got an answer. I think it's small enough to where you understand it. You're known. People, your circle needs to be people who know you. Almost finish your sentences and know when you're hurting, know when you're feeling good, know when they can share their heart with you, or maybe tell you got a booger in your nose, or your pants are unzipped, or your baby's ugly. I don't know. That's good. So it needs to be small enough to where there's no set size. I have probably, I don't know, half a dozen circles, but I have maybe 4 or 5 people that I trust 100% with anything. It needs to be small enough to where you're known, and big enough that you're not isolated. Yeah. Heather, Greenville, South Carolina. Heather S. She's talking about pieces of peace. That was a fun one to do. Pieces of peace helped me survive my divorce. Ow. Wow. Thank you for that. How do you rebuild when peace feels fragile? Wow. Sorry, you went through a divorce. I know how that feels, and it's not good. So how do you rebuild? One piece at a time. One piece at a time. Peace is not permanent. No. Peace is also something that is practiced, and you get better at it. You do. And over time, there was a line out of Blacklist where one of the guy's wife was killed in front of him. And he was devastated. And I remember the main character said, "It's horrible. It's a horrible thing." He knew how it felt. He said, every time you wake up, it's the first thing you think about. It's on your mind all the time. And it's just, you're devastated. And then he said, and then one day you'll wake up and it'll be the second thing you think about. So building peace is done one piece at a time. And it's also something that you can practice, but don't expect it to always be that way. I think we go through times of unrest and a lack of peace to help us regain it. And it is a worthy endeavor. So thank you so much. And, people will say they're sorry about my divorce. I'm past that. It's congratulations time, because for many reasons. So I hope you're there. And I know this peace may not just be about your divorce. It could be other things. However, I think the principle stands. Practice it. It's not permanent, and do it one piece at a time. All right. Brooklyn's in the house. Noah R. from Brooklyn, New York. Not the Queens. It's the Brooklyn. He says, how do you stay present when it hurts so bad? You guys are killing me. Yeah, just got to breathe. You got to breathe. And also, this hurts, but you got to feel it. Because if you just go numb as a defense mechanism, it's going to come back. Pain loses its power when it's truly felt or witnessed or embraced, and you manage yourself through it. I don't ever want anybody to be in pain, but it's going to happen. And it hurts so bad. So you got to breathe, and you got to feel it as bad as it hurts. And it teaches you, it makes you tougher, but it also helps you know that I can do this. I can do it. So thanks so much. And I don't know which O-Talk you're referring to, but I think a lot of them would apply here. All right, Deb K from Fargo. I'm horrible with accents. I apologize. From Fargo, North Dakota. How do you tell patience from fear? All right. That's a good one. I don't have much patience. I'm lacking of patience. But I'll tell you this. I know what fear feels like. And it's a tightening. It's a fear. Fear sometimes disguises itself as worry, or just something that makes you uneasy. That tightness is how I know the difference in that. Patience feels like, it feels more grounded. I know when my patience is being tested, and now I have a little trigger that will let me know, all right, what's this trying to teach you? I was stuck on the Highway 5 in Southern California for 8.5 hours. So I was saying, what is this trying to teach me? I had a lot of time to think about that. And I couldn't help but be patient because we couldn't go anywhere. So one makes you feel tight, and that would be fear. The fear also can freeze you. Not cold freeze, but, oh, what do I do? This is fear. Where patience, a lot of times the lesson in patience, it can steady you and prepares you. It teaches you something. That's my quick definition. Hope that helps. I don't know that answered that very well. Dubai. Do we have Mumbai and now Dubai? United Arab Emirates? Samir, I guess is the way you say this. Samir A. Which matters most in leadership? That's a very similar question. Freedom, control, or resolve? So I'll go back and say it again. Resolve. People don't need perfection. They need that consistency. Freedom is great. Control is wonderful. But without resolve, you're not going to, if you ever obtain the other two, you're not going to keep them. Because you got to have that determination. Great question. Kathy? I don't think I have any relatives in Bend, Oregon, but I have Kathy. Hey, Kathy. She is saying, how do you plan without becoming cynical? All right, so planning is, and the whole thing of, have planning and preparation. I think the way you keep from being too cynical, it's a little bit of cynicism is nice, but you have to plan for reality. And then hope for good, but don't expect either one of them to be permanent. Always have a contingency plan. I'll tell people, I've had visitors lately, and we had plans. We had plans, man. Even my kids came in, and we had plans. All the stuff we're going to do. We didn't do them. We didn't do most of them. But we had a heck of a time. So much fun. So we planned for reality. Yeah, we can do these things. But we just hoped for a good time, and we found it. We found it. So good. I always say you need to have a specific amount of time and a specific time every day to be completely ad-libbing it. Same thing. Plan for reality. Hope for the best. But don't, you can over-plan something to the point where you ruin it. I've done that many times. So, Mike L. in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Love Tampa. Talks about thriving. This is going back early too. Thriving made me feel guilty for wanting more. Come on, Mike. Never feel guilty for wanting more. That growth, that eagerness, that wanting more, that's not betrayal. That's not necessarily being selfish. Wanting more doesn't mean you're ungrateful for what you've got or what you've survived. So thriving is about wanting more. So don't feel guilty. You're not going to get more unless you go for it. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's, who is it? Ed McMahon. He's not coming in with a Publishers Clearinghouse check for you probably. Hey, don't feel guilty, man. You deserve it. Thrive. Get her done. Alina C. in Milan, Italy. I want to go, not necessarily Milan. I love to go to Tuscany. I just like to go. I don't want to go there. I want to be there. That's probably why I don't go. That's a long plane ride. But anyway, Alina, it could be Elena, Elenac. Why is self-love always the hardest? Well, for most people it is. Some people love themselves so much they are no earthly good to anybody else around them, and they have no empathy or anything. But I think where you're coming from is, I think it's the hardest because we're givers. We're givers. Most people are. I think that's a good thing about humans. We would do for others stuff we wouldn't do for ourselves. But also, I think it's hard because it removes your favorite excuse. Because once you value yourself, all right, now you've got to live up to that. You got to show up. And I don't think it's pride or arrogance or any of those bad things. To love yourself, you can be proud of yourself and your achievements, but you also set a standard. And I think sometimes I'm very critical of myself, self-deprecating humor. Yeah, I do that. Once you establish your value, then you got to live up to it. And I think that might be one reason it's a little hard. Great question from Italy. James P. from Wichita, Kansas. These talks always show up when I need them. Do you believe in coincidences? No, I don't. My talks are for me, and other people seem to enjoy them. And James, I appreciate that when they always show up when I need them. However, you're listening. You're looking for something. And that's great. And it's not necessarily me. It's you're listening. You're silent. And sometimes the answers come. The answers come in an analogy. It comes in a story. They really come when, if I say anything that makes you think about something in your life, then there is recall and application. And you know how I feel about that. So I don't think, I think it's just a matter of, it's not a coincidence. You're just ready to hear it. That's usually how it works. Absolutely. And then let's see, Helen P. in Peoria. Helen P. in Peoria. Pop filter. Peoria, Illinois. Running, again, is an older talk, but it still hits. How do you know when you're running towards something versus just running away? Great. And this also goes along with my never quit. You can stop, but never quit. So if you're growing, and I don't really like that term, if you're learning, if you're building something, you're looking for positive, an outcome, all of those things, then you're moving towards something. If you're blaming or just trying to numb the problem, then you're running away. So direction, it's not about the speed either. It's about the intention. And a lot of people are running from things. You can't outrun them. You can avoid them for a while. You can ignore them for a while. But growth would be facing whatever you're running from and dealing with it. And then you don't need to run. However, going toward that is very positive. Running away from it, it'll catch you. It will catch you. Curtis in Reno, what up? The biggest little town in the world or the largest small town in the world? Love Reno. Curtis J. said, the weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, made me realize I carry everyone else's problems. I hear you, buddy. And then he asked the question, is that an ego thing? It may be. I think, though, because I do that a lot as well, I think it's more about compassion, honestly. It would turn into an ego when you believe everything would just fall apart without you. I have done that. I've underpinned companies or different divisions of companies. I did all the work. Not that I'm not bragging, because it was, when I left, total failure. I had to go back in and do it the right way. So I think when you ask, is it ego? When you think, hey, it's your way or the highway, or nobody can do it as good as you, and everybody would go to hell in a handbasket if it wasn't for you. Now that's your ego. So you got to put that weight down. Other people need room to carry their weight. You don't need to carry it for them. Compassion should be your trigger there. The intent. Denise L. in Rochester, New York. She liked knock on wood too, but she says, knock on wood scared me a little. She has to learn it's okay to be optimistic after you've been burned. Yeah. That's a sign of, I think that's a sign of a healthy self-esteem. You've been burned, but hey, I'm not going to let that person or that situation define me as a negative. I'm going to be optimistic. Optimism after pain That's not discounting what happened. It's not being naive. I tell you, it helps with the scars. A scar doesn't happen till the wound is healed. I laugh during just about everything. When I was going through some tough times not too long ago, part of it is I like a defense mechanism, but I always knew everything's going to be okay. Yeah. People would say, you'll get through this. Of course I will. That's not even there. So it's very important to stay optimistic, even when times get tough, especially when times get tough. Victor in El Paso, again, going back to don't give away your power. It helped me stop apologizing. Good. I did one on that too, but yeah, that's great. Why do we do that so much? I think because we confuse politeness with permission. You don't owe people an explanation for taking up space. I love it. The apology. Some people, on calls, we count how many times particular people say they're sorry. And it's just a reflex. Boom, boom. Do they really mean it? I don't know. But they do it. And so I think it's don't ever apologize for being polite. I think that's a noble trait. However, giving away your power is something that I think I did that's where the purple car came from. But you'll notice it. You'll start noticing when you do things that give away power. And the best way to do is notice it. I got a clicker right here. I count everything. Click those bad boys and replace it. Replace that power drainer with a power booster. Yep. Laura, another person in Bend, Oregon, WAIT, came out years ago. Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time, but I update it with nuances. And I still reference it. How do you trust timing when you're getting older? Oh, preaching to the choir here. The thing is, age doesn't cancel timing. It doesn't. It sharpens it because hopefully you've got wisdom to go along. You're going to quit wasting time, and you're going to quit forcing doors open that you don't need to go through. And that waiting, it reveals itself. And so it's sometimes I feel a little hypocritical talking about it because I'm not a good waiter. Impatience again. However, that sense of urgency is very important to me. But sometimes you have to let it breathe. Wine, they open it and they'll put it in a decanter and they let it breathe. Meaning, don't drink it now. If you'll wait, it'll be that much better. So I think that's where age sharpens our timing. Frank D. in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Again with the weeds. He said, weeds made me laugh and then made me mad. Okay. Why do bad habits come back so fast? So we talk about that. You ever get rid of them? No. You just hope to control them. So why do bad habits come back so fast? Because, hey, they're efficient. They're good. And a lot of times they're fun. Hey. But they grow fast. And they promise a shortcut or comfort. That's why discipline has to be boring, but consistent. Yeah, it's tough, but I love it. It made me laugh, then it made me mad. Did you like it when I talked about Papa inspecting the hose? All right, Michelle, just a few more. Michelle K. from Flagstaff. Love Flagstaff. Talking about the space between again. It helped me to get through grief. Does that space ever close? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that it closes. I think we learn to deal with it. I once heard this and it helped me with my dad. The grief didn't go away. I just learned how to deal with it or manage it or live through it. That's where I am with that. When my mom passed away 7 years ago, I still grieve. But I've learned how to deal with it. And you learn a lot about yourself as well. So that's why that circle, so important. Great question. Great question. I appreciate that so much. Owen in Duluth. Freedom, control, and resolve again. He said it helped him after his retirement. And he said, what happens when control is gone for good? Then freedom and resolve, they finally get to do their job. Control was never meant to last because things change. People that they're control freaks, and that's what we talked about. Yeah, once you have control and you've mastered your freedom and your resolve, you have less decisions to make around control, which is good. However, I think you'll notice there's still, your reaction will be in a controlled way. And control is not a bad thing for those of you who haven't heard that O-Talk. This is not control freak. This is not controlling. This is, I'll decide. I know when to say no. I know when to say yes. And the more you say yes, the less control you have, by the way. Good question. Good question. Patty from Modesto, California. I'll be up there in a couple of weeks. Love is infinite. Yeah. She struggles with that. How do you love people who don't love you back? That's a great question. And I probably do less of that than I used to. But the way you do it is you love without an expectation. Your love for that person does not depend on them loving you back. You may not stay in that situation if they don't reciprocate, but love freely and stay wise about it. If the lack of reciprocation is causing you pain, all right, you got to deal with that. Don't avoid it. Maybe talk to that person. Maybe you don't, but the thing is, and the whole thing behind love is infinite is, you can still love everybody else 100%. And if they do come around, you're the one that gave them 100% of your love. Yeah, but manage it wisely. I'm gonna read one more just because you guys have heard me refer to it and you ask me if he is real. Randy from Corbin, Kentucky, gave me another email recently, and he says basically the same thing in a bunch of different ways. He says, I've listened to several of your talks. Honestly, this feels like motivational snake oil. You sound like a guy preying on people when they're hurting. Are you actually helping anyone or just selling feelings? Hey, don't get mad at Randy. I love Randy. I'm going to meet him someday. I'm going to go find him in Corbin, Kentucky. But the thing is, he asked a fair question. Yeah, I'm not preying on people's feelings. However, I can see why he may think that. But here's the truth. I don't fix people. I don't heal pain. I don't promise outcomes. All I do is put some language around things that people are already living. Things that I am going through. And I'm just reminding people, they're not crazy for feeling it. Some people hear manipulation. I get that. I've been called a slick salesman before, and I don't like it. But some people hear manipulation. Some people hear permission. But both reactions say more about where someone is than about what's being said. And clearly, I've tweaked you in some way. If the talks don't help, then don't listen. Truly, you can spend time doing something else. But if someone finds any clarity or any footing or any courage to say standing one more day because of maybe a thought landed at the right time, like a couple of people have said, yeah, that's enough for me. If this helps anybody, it's fantastic. But I'm not selling answers. I'm offering maybe a different perspective. And you're free to reject it. That freedom's kind of the point. So just in close, Randy, we're cool, buddy. I don't know if you smell what I'm stepping in, but hey. So this inbox thing, I may do it from time to time. Tell me what you think about it. But it's really not a highlight reel at all. It's like looking in a mirror because I know what I felt when I created some of these or what I was going through. And it's a mirror. But I think gratitude or confusion or your pushback or pain or skepticism, all of that, it's important. If everyone agreed with me, I'd worry a little bit, honestly. But if nobody challenged me, I don't think it'd be real. I'm more, you either provoke thought or I can explain myself and confirm how I feel about it. So I think it's important. Yeah. Randy, keep writing. I love it. I love it. So we're in a lot of cities. There's a lot of different cities, a lot of different accents if they were to hear them, and I would love to hear them. But they're really all the same questions is what I've discovered. We're all standing in a space between who we were and who we're becoming and who we are. And if these O-Talks help you stand a little steadier, that's great. The inbox is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Just one honest voice at a time. And I'll try to get more. I may even start put some of these on the website. So hit me up, David@otalks.com, Dave@otalks.com, or go to otalks.com and see stuff there. I'm going to start putting tour dates to let you guys know where I am in case you need to book one when I have an open block. But I appreciate you so much. I appreciate the support. I appreciate all the hanging out and hanging on. But most of all, I appreciate you O-Talking with Dave. Giddy up.